just to stay seated, it will pass. The tone will start with the down.
Thank you very much. So I find that what seemed to me has been the most important thing is that for me, our IMOD concept was often revisited and revitalized. And I think that we heard very interesting things. How are we going to ensure that small will enter into market with opportunity? The issue of the sustainable intensification, how to bring this with our concept of resilient smallholder farming systems. And even if market is considered as key to intensification, the farmer needs to be empowered and not to be hurt today on the issue of trading, access to trading terms. So that I find that the IMOD concept was really revisited and very correct. Thank you.
As Debbie asked me to make three statements, three sentences actually. So I have to be restricted on that. My first sentence is that we need global vision of agriculture and partnership that bring global science and partners to enable solution of local problems. For example, ICRISAT. There are many, but as we're sitting in ICRISAT, I just mentioned this. And second, a model concept note or a concept as such of any success story. There are a few mentioned in this meeting, can be translated and scale up to other regions or countries for a greater benefit, irrespective of its origin. Number three, science and technology-based vertical growth of agricultural productivity is essential, with value chains and linkage with marketing for sustainability of food and nutrition. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to come back from what we said yesterday when he was presenting the strategy of ICRISAT. The transformation of smallholder agriculture can be done by isolated success or silver bullet points. There is a need for spillover effects. And the SROs, the sub-regional organizations, have a significant role to play in this process. They have four functions: coordination, capacity strengthening, advocacy, and knowledge management of all the different categories of stakeholders, with smallholder farmers at the center. So this is an advice to ICRISAT to strengthen its collaboration with SROs to achieve this spillover effect and eventually the transformation of agriculture. There are lots of this. Not read this.
Thank you very much. I've listened to all the presentations with great interest. And I have a question concerning the focus on market access, technology, economic growth, etc., etc. It's clear to me that might, in the long run, or will, or have done already, increase availability of food both globally, regionally, and to some degree locally. But I think the aspect of access to sufficient nutritious and healthy food for all that need it most doesn't necessarily come as a result of a solely focus on market access. And I think ICRISAT needs to take the whole concept of food security into account, both availability, access, utilization, and stability of food to be able to reach its goal to improve food security for the small holders in the long run. I also think that to really understand the food insecurity problem, you need to understand the local context and look at markets with a farmer perspective, a farmer lens, and not a market lens. And I feel that the IMOD concept, or the IMOD concept, which is a great concept in itself, but it doesn't necessarily use the farmer lens. And I think we should rethink, or not at least be able to discuss critically, the IMOD concept within ICRISAT. And I think, again, that the understanding of the local context, understanding of the processes that really contribute to change, both social, political, and cultural, in a social, political, and cultural context, is really important to document and understand. And that's where the social science part of ICRISAT works comes in, and is really important. So that was one of my comments. Another comment is the importance of resilient food systems to, not for the food systems, but to decrease vulnerability for the farmer himself. Again, with the farmer, the small-scale farmer in focus. And I think what we have seen the last years is that increasing stress on not only the food system, but on the farmer. And that might, to some degree, be caused by globalization or market-driven development, like the energy crisis, food crisis, climate crisis. So in some way we have to address that. And I think the whole concept of climate smart agriculture, with its concept of mitigation, adaptation, increased production, sustainable intensification, might address this. Again, it has the farming focus. And I think climate change as such is just one additional stress and should be looked upon as one additional stress of the farmers. I think ICRISAT does a lot of work under this climate change umbrella, which might gain future smallholders. The breeding, the genetic resources, the integrated water management, the micro-fertilizing, the soil fertility work, lots of those activities are great and might contribute a lot to future increasing production and also to security, I think. And I just want to congratulate all the scientists that are working with those very important issues. But we could maybe be better to frame them within a bigger framework and to explain what kind of huge impact those activities can have in similar areas to those communities. This will just help.
Thank you, Ruby. I was asked to just speak a little bit on the seed factors that affect ICRISAT. And I think most of the points on especially plant breeding are covered by previous speakers. The most important point on the plant breeding aspect is that plant breeders are a dying breed. Now, we had several congresses, conferences, the whole idea about how to meet the key challenges of plant breeding. Of course, we've all heard that there is tremendous pressure for producing more food. We are facing host of challenges such as the market, diseases, the drought, to produce the right seeds and precise breeding and development of tailor-made crops, all packed into the seed itself. Then obviously the last, which is very important for Africa, genetic engineering. This can facilitate the development of crops with improved storage properties and nutritional characteristics. The other areas, I think, we have not discussed to an extent, which is being discussed in the seed industry. And this point was raised by Florence, how to facilitate access to genetic resources and benefit sharing. This can be an area where ICRISAT pick up from. International intellectual property. This is a big topic under which a lot of the breeders are not being compensated. And so there is no incentive actually to come out with better improved varieties. Seed quality issue. This is becoming more and more important as everybody is seeking faster and quicker way to richness. Seed quality is always suffering. So we need to be very much aware of this. And then the free flow of seeds. Now, the certification that we have today does not allow free flow of seeds going from one country to another. So an internationally recognized certificate that would allow free flow of seeds, of course through close collaboration between all the stakeholders, and this would promote, I think, strong growth in international trade, and also develop the national, regional seed markets. Of course, this is all benefit.
When Debbie yesterday asked me that what are the key messages, I started wondering that having had longest association with ICRISAT since it got established till today, what kind of message can be given? First is congratulations for celebration of 40th anniversary. The other is that also congratulations to the leadership for coming up with new strategy for 2020, which is going to have new orientation and also which is going to help us in introspection through this kind of discussions that we had for last 2 days. Then I come to my specific assessment and observations. One, that to meet Millennium Development Goals, we know very clearly now that 1/3 of the population in farming is smallholder farmers. And if 1/3 of the global population are smallholder farmers, and most of these are consumers themselves, so if we help them to increase their livelihood, I'm sure it is not going to only help for addressing poverty, but also hunger and sustainability of their natural resources, which are presently at risk. In this context, I see that we need to look into twin pillar strategy, having learned lessons from Green Revolution, and move towards not only from GRM to INRM, but towards IPM and I mode approach, and look into the context of systems approach for research rather than from a commodity approach. And in that respect, the emphasis on livestock, horticulture, arid horticulture, even fishery, and all are important agroforestry. So we need a farmer to have diversification in his agriculture, and for that we need to provide him knowledge. We also, in that context, have to ensure that he has resilience, and that has to be through help for small farm mechanization, more social science research, and we need to devise means and mechanisms and support systems for life linking farmers to market, whether it is through smallholder groups or cooperatives, or whether it is through the approaches such as watershed management, etc. This is going to help, and ICRISAT is well placed in the context of legumes and cereals that are most important and critical for the semi-arid things. Legumes for nutritional security, legumes also for sustainability of crop system, and resilience through hybrid approach. And hybrid technology has helped a great deal for abiotic stress tolerance because of that inbuilt uh, system that is prevalent. The other point which has come up during the discussion is that when we talk of smallholder farmer, we have to now give greater emphasis on gender in agriculture. And in that respect, we have clearly understood that 43% of agriculture force is women. They can help in increasing agriculture productivity. Not only if we empower them, they will help for household nutrition security and also help in uh, taking care of avoiding post-harvest loss. Have to see that engineering in agriculture is a priority, and we link them to the market, and we support them for access to inputs, access to land, access to other resources. So finally, I come to a few comments, and that is that the ICRISAT strategy, which is so well already planned, maybe we try to give emphasis to the great goal of the Millennium Development, which is partnership. And there should be more partnership, which is possible through CRP. We have to work with the stakeholders. We have to have participatory research, because in NRM it cannot be the research only on the institutions and research firms, and in that context we have to work with other institutions such as whether it is livestock research institution, national research system, or whether it is agroforestry system. And in that context, we must bring in the uh, innovations for outer scale. So it's a challenge. So whatever innovation, even if it is conservation agriculture, even if it is watershed approach, then how can we outscale is an important aspect. For that we need virtual platform, we need knowledge sharing, we need to have greater emphasis on ICT and even media and television. ICRISAT would do a great help to resource poor farmers if knowledge is provided to them without any dissemination loss. So I would like to stop.
Chair, extremely briefly on my part, I hope I don't repeat it. But one of the running themes that I've heard over the last day and a half is, and starting with our Minister, Minister Sina, was an issue of transforming smallholder agriculture into successful agribusiness. That's a running theme that has come through over the last day and a half. Another one is intermittent acknowledgement, compliments, good words on strategic plan of the Institute. I'm EMOD. And one of the strategic thrusts of the strategy is on markets, institutions, and policies. And I was asked to ask the House to give us advice as a person who works with us. How is our approach in this regard? Can you give us some comments in terms of the way in which we approach that particular strategic thrust of markets, institutions, and policies in the strategic plan? Or for that matter, give us comments on how we can improve on our approach. So, very briefly.
Thank you very much. I get to have the last word here. My thought, I have to keep it brief because I gave everybody else. I think 15 or 20 years ago, 10 years ago, if this symposium had been held, most of the talks would have been given by scientists who talked about how what they're doing was going to ultimately lead to help result in agriculture. And if anyone gave a talk on markets or gender or credit or anything else, it was a token or presentation. My impression now is that science has become the token presentation. And I just like to put in a word that I hope when I come back in 50, for the 50th anniversary in my wheelchair, that the balance will be back again, having a little bit more deep discussion of this end of the value chain down there with the scientists, because it doesn't all start with markets. And I think there was a little bit of that in the discussion in one of the sessions yesterday with Florence. Were you market-driven or were you science-driven in your approaches? And I really think that we need to, you said that the breeder is a disappearing breed. And this is at a time when the field of genomics has changed the face of breeding forever for the future. And we don't have breeders who can do old-fashioned breeding on the one hand, and we don't have breeders that are going to bridge the gap, the difference between the way the large private sector companies are doing breeding today and the way the public sector is doing breeding today is getting larger and larger and larger. And it's a huge gap and it's a huge problem. It's a huge opportunity to bring new and exciting things to bear. I'm sorry we didn't hear that here. I know that ICRISAT is a leader in this. And so we're very, very proud of ICRISAT in entering into this with the use of genomics and the sequencing of the latent genomes and so on. But I just wanted to have a word that science, we could have heard a little bit more science. And I think that ICRISAT, the challenge is the market strategy is great, but you know, it all starts down here with the science as well. If you don't have something to sell, the pigeon peas, great advances in the pigeon pea revolution that we've seen in East Africa started because new varieties were created that were fusarium wilt resistant. They started because scientists presented farmers with something they wanted. And it's like the cell phone, you know, it sells itself when it's really about something else. So that's not to say it's all about science. But we need to be able to talk to each other. And scientists aren't very good about getting you excited about these revolutions that are going on. So just a word for that. Okay. Now, what do you want to do? Do you want to, we can talk for another half an hour if someone's manage that. And then we'll let Nigel say goodbye to all of us. You can pick up on any of the points that were raised here, and we can discuss them. I don't want to spend all the time on one point, so we'll cut it off so other people have it. Let's get a sense from the floor of 2 or 3 or 4 topics we're going to discuss and see if the group is happy with those topics. Okay, we see lots of hands. Rob was first. Rob,
Thank you. Green made the comment about nutrition and utilization of food. And I didn't get to hear Igor's presentation, but in AID we have this big emphasis on two things, gender and nutrition, and gender very much about empowerment of women. Nigel raised the stunting issue in his opening comments yesterday. The World Health Organization talks about stunting as having three factors, food only being one of them, enteric load, clean water, diarrheal diseases being the second, and the third is care. So my question is, this idea that if we just give women a lot of opportunities to have businesses and be active as economic agents, which we're very much about. What I found in AID is when you talk to the nutritionists, they're like, well, wait a minute, there's real trade-offs in women's time with respect to child outcomes. So I just wanted to put that on. It's one of these things that doesn't parse out so neatly. The second issue I wanted, it was a simple one. Minister Adesina said that in Nigeria, the private sector is now certifying seed. Why can't that happen elsewhere, or is it happening elsewhere? I'd love to hear what Chitu or others think about that.
Two great points. Mark.
I think we need more plant breeding and more science, not less. And I think that for impact, we also need more IMOD, not less. And I think that ICRISAT, now that ICRISAT has IMOD, could make a very great contribution to the cause of food security as well as methodologically in the context of the CG system. If it set an example by building up a partnership that brings science to the farmer in a situation in which the farmer at the same time can sell the additional production, science-induced additional production, because that is what is needed for impact in terms of food security, farmer income, and other desired outcomes. And it is, we've been talking about this in the CG context for years. The CG is about science, that's its tool. But it's also about, at least those of us who are arguing that the CG ought to be worried about impact also. That means that the CG has the responsibility in terms of building those partnerships that lead to impact, even though it is not the CG's task, nor is it its comparative advantage to produce impact all by itself.
I've been hearing panel speak, and I'd like to basically support what Christ said about the fact that we really do not, we need to reconsider the word IMO to iPod. We say the brand of the word, and we need to change the market word producer, because we need to basically ensure that it is an integrated producer-oriented development rather than market-oriented. Because what we has to say in his book on page 63 is a total contradiction if you go towards the market.
I would like to take one point for discussion. Is one of the important aspects of this framework is about the systems perspective. I think that's the wonderful thing that's there. But I'd like to see how the two aspects of technology and market are taking the systems perspective in relation to the smallholder farm. A detailed discussion on that. But at this moment, I must acknowledge that we can succeed even that the top management of ICRISAT is humble enough to listen. I think I'm extremely happy with that. Although I have had headaches yesterday, and reason I'm going to have headaches today because they are not adopting the systems perspective. All the discussion is going in such a way that I'm going to have. I've had headaches, but I also take home a learning that if you are a good teacher, you should have the patience to listen.
Let's see. Does someone from ICRISAT want to respond to that, or do we want to keep? We had some interesting questions and some interesting thoughts. Is this on the same topic or is it?
No, it's on a different topic.
Well, then let's stop for a minute. And no, we don't respond.
Okay.
But we had a question about seats, and Bree, maybe you would like to respond to anything. Okay. Seat certification issues.
Thanks, Rob. The main area of work that the association is doing, both at national level and regional level, especially the Active Trade Association. There are several ways in which capacity building has been introduced for the local regulator, but also the region is the fallback based on capacity as well. In Kenya itself, we're inundated with 250 bills, so we have it under a current law, seat law, which will give companies free hand to go and inspect. These are the problems that we face. It's more political than the seat industry. We're pushing, everything is done. You know, it's different rates, coverage, or lobbying, and what. These are the factors that we do. Having said that, also there's a debate going on here, you know, with all the proliferation going on. So is it better to have government regulator? Sometimes, you know, hand in hand it works. So we're into all this right now, where yes, faster certification companies to do it. At the same time, all the other vendors come in, the government do it to them. So it's a balance.
Yes, I just want to echo what Justin said. I think this is a very crucial question. And in West Africa, there is we just started a project. It's a continuation of the West African Seed Alliance, which was actually managed by ICRISAT. And Africa is managing the second part of it. And this is all about strengthening the procedures of the private sector in producing certified seeds. But again, when we spoke to the farmers, the small farmers, we consider them as the private sector as well. There is this question of policy issues. And the governments have to make a lot of efforts to actually facilitate the environment for creating, developing certified seeds. So I think that's something that we can work on. But with regards to the alliance, there are other ideas coming up. Somebody was talking about innovation systems and systems and innovation systems and innovation platforms and getting people involved. And I think to get such an alliance to work, we have to think innovatively and think within innovations.
May I just say a word about systems approaches? I think you can overdo this, you know. I wasn't sure if Rodney was criticizing scientists or complimenting them when he said that they like to go off by themselves and solve the problem. And I do think that, you know, everything doesn't have to be a systems approach. We have in Africa, there's a new viral disease right now that is in Maze. You know, somebody just needs to tell the scientists, get into the lab and solve this problem. It doesn't have to be a systems approach. There are certain things that just need to be done. And sometimes we overburden scientists, social scientists, everybody else with, think about the whole system all the time. Write great, grandiose schemes instead of just giving people time to do what they're listening. I'll say enough of that. All right, now we have more questions.
I did.
Yes.
Okay. My point really was about resilient agriculture. In smallholder farm. I must confess to you that whatever I did attend the main sessions and the sessions which I attended otherwise reactively, very freely and on the margins touched on this segment, which I feel is indeed very important. And one would like to hear a little bit more detailed analysis of what ICRISAT really has done to build what we call resilient which I wish to make is just complementary, and that is that when science does its work well, markets will grow. You just have to provide them.
Do you have any comments back, Cynthia?
Yeah.
Do you have a response?
It's not response, but it's a continuation of what I said, but also a direct feedback to your comment about increasing the balance between science and markets. That there is have been an inclination to talk more about markets and similarly forget about science. I don't think that's the case. I do think that enabling the revolutions that we've been talking about all over, throughout the several 2 days that we have here. We have been talking about revolutions in Egypt, South Africa, the potential revolution on productivity in Ethiopia. These are all about science-based, and even the one that we are looking at right now is the enabling the pulses revolution in India, particularly South India. These are all science-based. We've talked about it. Science-based in the sense that it is enabled by the science which are liked by farmers and consumers, and therefore delivered through traders. What it's all about is that ICRISAT delivers the science products, but it doesn't produce impact unless we connect markets. And it's in this case that experience in Andhra Pradesh, for example, what we're looking at right now, is the fact that market orientation and even the policy orientation supporting, let's say, cold storage, connecting the small holders to enable them to do collective action, to enable them to connect to the traders in Andhra Pradesh and other parts of the country, so that the products which are very much delivered through science actually reaches the ultimate clientele, producing more income for the producers, and primarily in this particular case in Andhra Pradesh, the smallholders who have come together so that they lease in even lands so that they can intensify agriculture to produce commercialization instead.
For sure, that's what we need is a balance. And this does remind me, I think none of us thought to congratulate and thank all of the people who presented the posters. I thought they were marvelous presentations. Very clean, very clear, very nicely done. We might give a hand to them. Yes, who has not talked? Yes.
Thank you. I want to give one positive example of this system's approach and how markets are coming in after. But it is based on science, and then also a cautionary note. So in Malawi, of course I have to admit I'm former ICRISAT, but in independent of ICRISAT, other than we're using the approved varieties, in northern Malawi for some 10 years, we've been working with the Ministry of Health on nutrition messages and on participatory research and bringing in the latest different legumes. And an independent assessment of the region where we've been working the longest has shown height by weight gains of under 5s. You're listening? So less stunting in northern Malawi watershed at Ekwenteni amongst 10,000 farm families that have taken up pigeon pea and pigeon pea intercrops with soybean and groundnut. And so there are cases where science can make a difference in providing the newest varieties, but also there were systems agronomists there, soil scientists, nutritionists, and participatory research to make sure we weren't promoting legumes in specific ways that were not taken up by farmers. Originally we came in with more of a soil fertility emphasis, but the farmers that took it up were the ones that had nutrition and participatory education. And I want to note that the men, the husbands, were taught about nutrition as well as the women. Because after all, in the end, they decide whether food gets more food. So they must also be, and they also have to do a lot of the labor for producing the kitchen feed and so on. So that's the positive things. We can see gains in children's health, and that motivates farmers. And in turn, now they're becoming a kitchen feed trading area. But markets did not come first. First, it was seen that children grew better, and so they were willing to invest in new crops. But on the other hand, as an agronomist, sometimes I'm asked to do these kind of market, be part of a market team. And I must say that I would hope that ICRISAT will invest in people that are better at the value chain, so that the geneticists and the agronomists can shine and be part of a team, but actually we're not good at market value chains on our own.
Thank you. Let's see. Yes, I'm sorry. This gentleman and then Rob.
Thank you. I am Maruti Shekhar from Central Research Institute for Dryland Agriculture, Hyderabad. We have been associating with ICRISAT for the last 40 years, and Frida is 41 years old, and ICRISAT is 40 years old, and my compliments to the ICRISAT for this great day, 40th celebration. In fact, we had a very lively discussions for the last 1.5 days, and I feel that we are addressing the small farmers' problems, and in the process, we are trying to improve their livelihood and improve the security, food security of the global population. And I feel that there is an imbalance in the thoughts and activities of not only the scientists and also the activities of the farmers. There is a large migration taking place, from agriculture to the other sectors, and I feel that this is happening in almost all the countries. The population migrating from agriculture to other sectors. With the result, there is a disinterest of the population in agriculture, and it is affecting the agricultural GDP contribution to the national GDP. And also, the checking of the urbanization has to be made. We have to address we don't discard urbanization, but at the same time, it should not happen at the cost of agricultural development. And also, the yield gaps. We have been addressing the yield gaps of crops. ICRISAT has been addressing, ICRIDA has been addressing, the ICR has been addressing. I find that there is a tremendous yield gaps in our technologies, from the on station to the on farm. And we must, unless we zero the yield gaps, the farmers, they don't get convinced about the technologies. And the adoption, the technology adoption, it will not be valid unless we zero down the yield gaps and the profitability. And apart from this, we must create strategies for the population to take interest in agriculture in general and rainfed agriculture in particular, because rainfed agriculture is still a gamble in the monsoon. Unless the farmers are convinced, unless we create an interest in the farming community to take up our technologies, it again results to working with the farmers on a larger scale. We must take the technologies to the farmers on a larger scale. That's how the ICR has been working under a big program of DICRA. I wish that we will have, we will take the technologies to the farmers, in a larger scale, so that we will convince the farmers about the adoption and the success of the technologies. Thank you very much.
May I bring up something to maybe draw out a comment? Dr. Avicina commented on youth and how we need to attract youth, and nobody's followed up on that. I wonder if anybody, perhaps ICT is the way to get youth into agriculture. Does anyone want to comment on that? And then we'll take another question. All right. And then Rob, sorry.
As far as youth is concerned, the focus has to shift from agriculture universities to youth in local area, to rural youth who are educated, unemployed, who then need to be trained as general practitioners in agriculture, it does not necessarily have to be 5 years, it could be 6 months or 2 years. But these could be understudies to successful farmers in their area, and thereby be agents for wide replication. Jenny, what he had to say was, this is the century for management and not for breeders. So we really have to shift the focus onto MBAs in agriculture, so that in addition to the knowledge of agriculture science, we also have very good knowledge how to manage agriculture, which is really a huge gap.
In our small example of around 2 GPs, that's around 50 villages, we have used the rural youth, and around 110, 120 rural youth within that cluster is already employed in this community model. So, and they become very effective managers. So, there is a possibility, but you have to again come back to systems approach. If you are not following systems approach, if you are not using the basic theory of constraints in systems approach, you are not going anywhere.
Thank you, Devi. Thank you, Devi. I wasn't going to take the floor, having had my mouth out this morning, but since you needled me, saying, was I criticizing or complimenting scientists, I want to make 2 points. First of all, I should clarify that I was a scientist myself, not an economist, and that I have the greatest respect for scientists. And I was not complimenting or criticizing, I was recognizing the reality that to be an effective scientist, you've got to be focused, you've got to be single-minded, you've got to be 100% on your problem and project. Now, second point, in the same vein, I just hear that scientists should become managers. In my younger day, I was told that scientists have to become economists. Now we have to be managers as well. This second point, we heard that people want ICRISAT to do more science, to do more iMod, to do more iPod, and everything else as well. And PS, is ICRISAT listening? I'm sure they're listening. Remember, I quoted their strategic plan, page 52. Listening is easy, but when you talk about cultural change, that's hugely difficult. And remember the first 2 cultural changes there was on interdisciplinarity, institutional teamwork, and systems. So it's registered, but it's not easy. My concern when we sit here demanding ICRISAT does more of everything is that that's a recipe for failure. You know, I'm sure if ICRISAT management is looking at what we used to do, since we're all managers now, looking at SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and then looking at the effective partnerships to cater. Everyone is saying partnerships are a good thing. The problem is partnerships take time and money. So we have to be very clear the nature of the partnerships and how to take it forward. Thank you very much.
I think it's time to wrap it up and let Nacho say a few words. I just would, in conclusion, say that I know from my own experience, Willie does listen. I think that on the birthday party of ICRISAT, the changes that Willie has brought to ICRISAT over the past 10 or more years has been tremendous, and maybe it's time for him to really.
Please stay there. Please stay there.
Friends, thank you very much. We're at the end. I'm not going to keep you for your lunch. I thought it was 12:30 today, but thank you to Jerry, had an amazing session. That's incredibly good. Thank you, Rob. Yesterday you gave me a heart attack by somebody saying, if you refer to page 52 of the ICRISAT strategy, there I was flashing through, earth to be right on 52. I looked up, Dave was flashing through the documents where I said, what on earth to be right here? You actually summed up the hard decisions. ICRISAT isn't that big. We haven't got lots of money. We have hard decisions. We have to go through change. We're about to change. I'm going to give you I was trying to think when you were all talking about what I feel about the last 2 days. I have a personal mantra, and it goes back to the late 60s. And with as students, we thought we could, in Europe, I guess the States, we thought we could change the world by demonstrating outside the American Embassy in Grosvenor Square, the South African High Commission in Trafalgar Square, the Ministry of Defense in London. We didn't succeed, did we? That mantra is quite simple. And it goes something like this. If you're not part of the solution, you are actually part of the problem. And I think that's an incredibly powerful mantra. Because what it says, it works at many levels, as it should do. It affects my personal ethical beliefs, what I do, where I go. It works at the science, all types of science, and I'm sure even economics is a science. It affects, because what it does, it tries to make you define the problem. You then frame the problem. You then question that problem. And what we do at ICRISAT, you keep on questioning, redefining the problem as you go through. That is what I always thought science was about. And I think that is what life's about. So it's incredible. In the last 2 days, that mantra has been at the front of my mind. I have been, okay, this is personal. I have been apologize to all the people I've insulted or questioned or framed perhaps too loudly over after whiskey. But it has been incredibly important. So what is my conclusion? My conclusion here is personal. I now personally feel much happier that ICRISAT, our partners, you in this room, actually are part of the solution. And I hope that we will, in 10 years' time, when I come back on Silver Frames, I hope that we will see some of those solutions work. So, thank you on that. I now have to say thank you. So get ready to clap. And then we can go and have lunch. First, gifts to the chairs. And Rory, that is my favorite. Thank you. 3 more thanks. First, can I ask Dave to actually pass on the thanks for this group to all those people who in ICRISAT who are working behind the scenes, and they have worked incredibly hard. We don't normally have fairs all the time. David, will you please pass on our congratulations and thanks? And again, it's Dave. Many people I know have come together in framing this symposium. Dave has been driving it. So I think we should all give a special thanks again today. Finally, the speakers, chairs, rapporteurs, everyone in this room, thank you for making a fantastic tour day. So clap yourselves.